If an area of skin is very elastic and doesn't take the ink well, what should you do? Should you go deeper or go over the same spot multiple times? You'll get the answer in this video. Today, I'll show you how I tattoo this spider design on real skin. First, I thoroughly shave the area where the design will be placed. Next, I clean the area with skin disinfectant. Now I apply a thin layer of stencil stuff and spread it evenly. I place the stencil just as the client requested. Peel it off, and we're ready to go. For the outer lines, I use a 7-round liner at 8 volts. For lines, I always use a 4.2 millimeter stroke. I use dynamic inks, in this case Ganga Black. All other products I use can be found in the video description, and with the code fanitattoo, you get 10% off all products. After waiting 10 minutes for the stencil to dry well, we can begin. The first line should always be done very carefully because you need to get to know the skin first. Every skin is different and can also vary depending on the area of the body. For example, on the back, most people have very large skin pores, which makes it a bit harder for the ink to go in. In this video, I'll show you how to make it work anyway. The most important thing to get the ink under the skin properly is to stretch the skin well. If the skin isn't well stretched, it's almost impossible to pull a clean line. Near the armpit, we have very elastic skin. If the ink doesn't go in easily, you must not go deeper. That would cause a blowout. The right way to deal with this situation is definitely keep the same needle depth, but go over the same spot multiple times until the ink holds. But be careful not to go over the same spot more than 3 times. Right now, I'm focusing only on the lines. The solid areas will be filled later with a different needle. More on that later. The only areas I fill in with this needle are the ones that are too small to reach with a bigger needle. If I can't complete a long line in one pass, it's important that I lift the needle gently from the skin. That way, it's easier to continue the line later without a visible seam. The further I move away from the armpit, the easier the skin takes the ink. To sum it up, stretch the skin well and don't go deeper than usual. Instead, go over the same area multiple times if the skin is elastic. Since we want a solid final result, I have to do every step carefully. If I didn't properly work the ink into the skin on some lines, I'd have to correct everything later, which would take more time than just doing it right the first time. To fill in the solid areas, I use a 9 soft edge Magnum needle. The voltage remains the same, but I switch the stroke to 3.9 millimeters. Even with the packing technique, it's important to always stretch the skin well. When I want to fill an area, I try to move the needle very quickly, so that as many different skin spots as possible are hit by the needle. 8 volts is fast, so I can also move my machine very fast. Beginners, however, can set a lower voltage and work more slowly. It takes some practice to work right up to the edges with a Magnum needle. If you can't manage it right away, it's better to use a smaller needle to work the edges. For example, a liner or a round shader needle. If you don't succeed at working the edges the first time, don't try again. Otherwise, you might damage the skin if you go over it too many times. Because of the ink that drips onto the skin, it's not always easy to see exactly where you're tattooing, so it's completely normal if this is difficult for you at first. The best way to practice is on fake skin. Start with small Magnum needles and try to work along the edges. Once you manage that, you can gradually move on to using larger needles. The wider the needle, the more difficult it gets. Why is it easier to fill small areas? When filling large areas, you automatically tend to work faster. For example, if you have to fill a large space, it feels, at least to me, like driving 10 miles per hour on the highway. The only way to still achieve a solid, well-filled area is patience. Many artists who paint large pictures cover the whole canvas except for the small section they're currently working on. The only reason for this is to avoid losing focus. Right now, I'm working my way around the entire area that needs to be filled. That way, I'll have a smaller space left in the center, which is easier to fill in. As you know, I always explain things in a beginner-friendly way. So now we're switching to pen and paper. This axis moves slowly, and this one moves quickly. If you can remember this tip, you've understood the concept of packing. Only 20% of the people watching are actually subscribed, so if you want to support me, hit that subscribe button and drop a like on this video. I'd really appreciate it. And if you keep practicing on fake skin, you'll be able to apply it in real life too. This is a relatively difficult part of the body to tattoo, and yet it works, if you work correctly. On other areas of the body, it would be even easier. If you want to know how to tattoo a realistic portrait, both on real skin and fake skin, I've created an online course for that. It's a follow-along course where you can practice step by step. If you're interested, check out this video.